Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben. Today we are out testing the TST Buddy Pro here, a very surprising bike that I've been having a blast both on and off the road with. If you guys want to see what this thing is capable of and you want to see how far the battery gets me here, make sure you stay tuned. Let's see what this thing can do. Starting from the ground up here, we've got knobby 20x4 Chow Yang tires, plastic fenders front and rear, 7-speed Shimano cassette with Shimano derailleur. Those are controlled from the shifter on the right here with the dual paddles. Grips are relatively soft and definitely grippy. Thumb throttle on the left here. Control pad and display all in one on the left side. Mechanical brakes for front and rear, meaning that there is a cable inside of here. So when the cables stretch a bit, you will have to back off the adjusters a bit, put the lock nuts back in place. 160mm drilled rotors, and the calipers for the mechanical brakes do also have some adjustments on them. Here's what the back one looks like, and we've got our motor information there. 55-pound rack on the rear with a reflector, no light. Chainring has a guard on it, but it is just made out of plastic. We've got our HLT 100, rated for 850 pounds for the rear suspension. Front does also have suspension, but is not adjustable. Handlebar height, however, is rather adjustable. Looks like we do only have about that much adjustability, as there are some hash marks that mark the limit. Seat also has a quick adjust and can be raised to right about there. So with everything in its highest position here, I will hop on the seat, or try to anyway. I am 5'10" with a 31-inch inseam height, and I weigh about 155 pounds. So on the bike, I would say this is actually not a bad pedal stroke, nor a bad position for my arms. If I was to want to reach the ground, though, this is, well, a little bit high. So I think I'd probably want the seat down a bit lower. Bars seem a bit wiggly. The seat down in the lowest position, I think I'd have a little bit of a hard time getting any meaningful pedaling done, but certainly would work for a much shorter person. We don't get a whole lot of info on the display, but if you hit the power button, we do get a trip and an odometer. Definitely a bit of a torquey motor, it seems like. Oh yeah. She's ready to go.
So I gotta say, I do really like the paddle shifters on here, but I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I can't see what gear I'm in unless I want to look down at the Shimano cassette on the back. But we are in first gear on there. I've got this set to pedal assist level 0, meaning the electric motor back there is doing nothing. So I'm basically just on a regular old bicycle that's, a little bit heavier. And I've got to say I can definitely feel the weight. However, compared to a lot of the bigger tire bikes that I've tested and the heavier bikes that I've tested, this one feels a little bit more like a bicycle. Not super hard to pedal, but of course we're not out here to pedal around. We are here to test out the electric motor on here, so we'll bump it to pedal assist 1, and that gives us quite the increase. And I believe that's actually because this has a torque sensor on it. So if I pedal slow and just give it a little bit of input, we'll be doing around 11 miles an hour. And then as soon as I increase, the bike takes off. So this will take me a little bit of getting used to. It's definitely a new thing for me. It definitely is a nice feature and something that once you get used to it is far superior, I think, or is hopefully, I guess, going to be far superior to just a regular old cadence sensor, which is what most of the bikes that I've had, or all of the bikes that I've had so far, have had on them. Essentially, that means you almost have to do a full rotation depending on the bike before it'll give you power, where this one, I believe, as soon as you start giving those pedals just a little bit of input and it senses that, it basically takes off and pretty much takes you all the way up to top speed. We'll leave it on first gear and we will just go through the gears. I will push as hard as I can on the pedals. I'll mash the throttle just so we're getting everything out of this. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see that, but hopefully I'll be able to see it in post when I'm editing it. Ready? Go! $20, $21, yeah, that was it. So, not going to be able to compare it to the other bikes that I usually run up to 25. I guess we can bring those down to 20, but looks like top speed is 20. As far as cruising out here on the slightly bumpy road, I've got to say this thing is incredibly nice to ride on. It really feels, I don't know, just like it's kind of meant for me and my size, I guess. The bars feel really good to hold on to. I really like the sort of fatter, grippier, rubbery grips. The width of the bars is nice. The distance from the bars to the seat is good. Really putting a little bit of effort in here with my pedals and the seat in this location. Honestly feels good. I mean, this is a nice bike to cruise on. Seat is a little bit squishy, maybe could be a little bit wider, but does have a nice shape to it and feels nice and sticky. I don't feel like I'm gonna slide off at all. I gotta say, I'm really liking the torque sensor in here. This is really pretty intuitive. I like that when you slow down a bit, it pretty much cuts off immediately. Give it a little bit more input, picks up. Give it a lot more input, takes you up to 20. Suspension seems like it could handle maybe a little bit more than this. However, it definitely is plenty comfy to ride here. What happens if we give it a little input? Oh, wow. This thing feels pretty well suspended and definitely easy to bunny hop it. Ooh, how about a big dip? Ooh. A little jarring, I suppose, but if I let a little bit of air out of the tires, I think that would probably help. Going up a hill, put it down a couple gears, increase pedal speed, speeds up, get to the top, shift up a couple gears. That is pretty slick. Yeah, definitely gotta go down when you go up a hill though. It seems like cruising at top speed, my feet definitely are able to keep up no problem. Obviously we're only doing 22, not in the 30s like some of the bikes that I've tested, but it definitely seems like this is a very nice cadence to cruise at. And that is nice for a couple reasons. You can get your exercise in when you're pedaling, and of course whatever power you put in the motor can conserve battery life then. And it looks like the throttle will hold us right around 18 or 19 on the gravel here, with no assistance from me. Ooh, brakes are not the best. Never really a fan of mechanical brakes. I guess we'll see how they work after I bed them in a little bit. So we're cruising out on the open road here. What if I drop this a few pedal assist levels? I think what that pedal assist does is essentially just amplifies the amount of pressure you're putting on the pedals. So it's basically going to take whatever you're giving it and multiply it by either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's not as easy to tell as when you would just have a cadence sensor and are going up or down, because essentially that almost works like cruise control, where this it kind of doesn't, just because it's really reading what you're doing with the pedals a little bit more intuitively. So my assumption was, I think correctly so far anyways, that this is superior to a cadence sensor. I like it much more. And since this does have a relatively small battery compared to what I'm used to, it looks like we did drop a bar already. That could just be some voltage sag, which is essentially just a miscommunication between the battery and the sensor in there when you're putting a big draw on it. The motor did seem a little bit noisy on startup, but now I think maybe that it's worn in a bit. Seems like it's just fine. Most of the noise I think is from the tires. No, there is a little bit of motor noise there, isn't there? So not an especially quiet motor. I don't know if that sound is anything that I should be concerned about, but doesn't really seem like it affects anything. It seems like it performs just fine. In general, electric motors are a little noisy. It definitely comes down nice after a jump. Oh yeah. Let's see what the brakes do for us here. Well, they certainly lock up the rear, but it's about how mechanical brakes go. Are they usable? Do they work? Yes. Are they ideal for a bike that's heavier than just a pedal bike? No. Warming up to be a nice day. Might even be a little overdressed for this. If you guys are new to the channel, the selfie stick and the camera here that are covered in dragonfly eggs is the Insta360, which is what gives us the sort of third-person view from the front. It's often more of a hassle than I think it's worth, but I do like the shot. Hopefully you guys do too. I think maybe before yeah, we had some ridiculous storms. I sort of forgot about that. Probably should have brought my saw before we do anything silly. I'm going to put this down on pedal assist 1 just to feel things out here on the old logging road. And we are on gear 1, I believe, or maybe just 2 or 3. That is sort of annoying that I can't tell, but whatever, I suppose. Yeah, this seems like a pretty fun two-track bike, to be honest, and with that springy suspension, boy, it makes any little bump a jump. Let's check our turning radius here. Oh yeah, no problem. Before we hit the single track, I think I'm going to drop the seat just a tad. Uh-oh. Somebody didn't tighten their seat down. Oh, and I guess we can adjust that a bit. Maybe I'll move that a tad forward. Always bring tools on the first couple rides just to make sure nothing loosens up. Uh-oh. Who knows what that is? Deer tick. Because the pedal assist and throttle are not linked, we should be good to go and have full power with the throttle. Let's feel this out and see how it does. Ooh. Not bad. I better take it easy though. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of this, isn't there? So standing up feels alright. Folding pedals always make me a bit nervous, and I think probably for good reason. I think generally they're meant to be just pedaled, not stood on. But doesn't seem to be stopping me. And with all the torque from this motor, which of course, whoa, it does peak out a bit. Oh no! Where did that end up? Oh, not you again! You gotta be kidding me. You must have a nest around here. I need my mirror back. Can I have it? I thought this guy was a guy protecting his drumming turf, but I'm pretty sure it's a female protecting her nest. I'm sorry, but you picked a bad spot. I gotta get my mirror and I'll get out of here, I promise. Don't get me. I do really like that there is a grab handle on the back here. We'll see you later. Good luck with your little ones. A couple times on a dual sport motorcycle, which is what my main channel and content is about. Whoa! When I was riding those through just trails in the woods, sort of like this, I've been dive bombed twice and chased after, I think, a couple times. So, suspension, I think, could be helped out by, like I said, airing the tires down a bit. But honestly, I mean, as much as this is obviously not a hyper E mountain bike, it really does pretty well. Huh? Not bad. Maybe a little slower than usual, but really soaked it up kind of nice. This darn mirror. I gotta stick some Loctite in there or something. I gotta say, this thing definitely gives me probably more confidence out here than I should have on it. It just really, the responsiveness of it, the motor and the throttle really, I don't know, just sort of brings it to another level where it's much more rideable in situations like this where you sort of are kind of threading the needle a bit. Ooh, yeah, there's some limitations to the jumpiness of it, but definitely handles that surprisingly well for a bike that is really meant to be folded up and stuck in the back of a car rather than out here ripping mountain bike trails that most people are riding $5,000 bikes on. There is a little bit of uncomfortability with the sort of odd geometry for off-roading, meaning that the wheels are small. Generally off-road you want a larger wheel because then you have more mechanical advantage over the terrain that you're riding. And the fact that the handlebars are a good foot, even in the lowest position, above where they attach to the frame of the bike, and being just that much higher off of the front wheel certainly makes things a bit awkward. But whoa! Not nearly as awkward as this is going to be. Oh, I certainly wouldn't want to do that with a heavier bike or a bigger one. Works pretty well for sneaking into tight spaces, I suppose. Let's try a bit of pedaling, which is going to be sort of odd, but is somewhat confusing, I guess. But again, this is definitely just not what I'm used to. Go up a couple gears. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm ghost pedaling, which is sort of weird. I guess just something you kind of got to get used to. I don't really know what gear I want it in. But if you do get into a situation where you need to cut the power, all you got to do is give the brakes a squeeze, and that will shut down the power to the electric motor. Woo! The wobbliness of the handlebars, I kind of honestly forgot about out here in the garage. It seemed like it was going to be sort of an issue, but it's really not. Yeah, just regular old standing up and working the throttle with the pedals in the 9 and 3 position feels honestly pretty darn good. The pedals maybe feel like they're sagging a little bit, which you just kind of get with a foldable pedal, but really not too bad. Yeah, it definitely struggles a little bit when you slow down going up the big hills, but not too bad. It'll be interesting to see how this whole setup works on the big hill. that we're approaching. Oh, look out, chipmunk! Something is building a web on my face as we speak here and all over the camera. A little bit of test for the fenders. Seems like I stayed dry. I think plastic is definitely the way to go when it comes to fenders. I would say that I wouldn't expect to stay completely dry, as the fenders don't go all the way down to the ground, but honestly on this one they actually seem like they're a little bit closer to the ground than most, so that will definitely help keep the water off of our back and our legs. Tires seem to be hanging on just fine, even when we put a little bit of strain on them going around the corners in the sand. And I've used these tires a bit out here and never really had an issue with them. The width and the diameter paired with the sort of general size of most of these bikes, I would say works pretty darn good. And of course, most of you may not be looking for one of these bikes to do this type of riding, but being is that I've got this accessible to me for free, which is absolutely awesome. This is in the Marathon County landfill. I think this is probably the best way that I can do the most amount of hard testing in the shortest period of time to sort of give you guys an idea of what it's going to be like to own this bike and put a bit of strain on it. I would say this thing seems to be doing just fine so far. No complaints. Of course, understanding that the geometry isn't really set up for this, but doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself and having quite a bit of fun. And for those of you that have never ridden an e-bike and are sort of wondering how they compare to a motorcycle or moped or whatever, I would say you definitely shouldn't expect thrilling acceleration. I would say that this one is a bit better than most, though, and definitely is a little bit more fun when you punch the throttle. It definitely seems like it gives you probably just about all the power that it can send that 750 watt nominal motor. Looks like they're finishing up here. That is one heck of a hill. Looks like we are still getting a little bit of water and mud on the shock and the underside here, which probably isn't great for the key, but obviously it does kind of help keep most of the bike clean. On the backside here, we've got a little bit coming over. Seems like the rack is, has a few drips on it, but really not too bad. Might be a few drops on my back from going through it fast, but not the worst. Deer tracks, worm tracks. And those are raccoon tracks. That's really a cool looking bike, isn't it? Looks like we are below half a tank on the battery. Might be pedaling this home. So we're on gear 1 back here. We'll put this on pedal assist level 5, and I will, I think, just pedal my way up here, since that seems to give us, the most power anyways. Okay, well, when you hit straight mud, apparently the tires can't hang on. Not so surprised about that, though. I'm going to be able to do this sitting down. Look at that. Yeah, this thing's got some torque. Well, that's not good. Looks like that should have had some Loctite on it. And hopefully that doesn't cause any issues. So we are about halfway through the trip here. Let's see, 12 miles so far. I don't know that we're going to have enough juice left to do the whole 12 on the way back. I'm going to have to take a shortcut. Of course, with a smaller battery comes lighter weight, which is definitely nice if you're looking at a bike like this that you want to be able to fold up and stick in the back of a vehicle. The battery is often a very heavy component in comparison to the rest of the bike. So if you don't need the range, it does make, I think, a lot more sense to have a smaller battery. All right, let's see how this thing does on the big jump. Decent on the little kicker there. How about the big one? Oh yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, man, for a folding bike, This thing sure is a blast out here. That full suspension definitely makes it so much more capable and a heck of a lot more comfortable. I have noticed that the pedals get a little bit caked and are certainly not grippy enough to sort of make up for that. So I would say probably don't plan on doing a whole lot of mudding with this, otherwise you probably will have some problems with your feet slipping off the pedals. And speaking of pedals, I did sort of play around with this a bit while I had the camera off. And it seems like maybe I just sort of had it in my head that I needed to keep pedaling, and obviously that's not really how you would ride a bicycle out here. And since the torque sensor is supposed to sort of emulate that, I figured I would give it a try, just sort of pedaling a little bit till I got to the speed that I wanted, and then coasting, as you would on a bicycle. And it turns out that that works great. So you just kind of still have to be ready to hit the brakes if you need to, plan your pedal strokes when you're not leaning the bike over going around a corner, and of course when you're not by a bunch of obstacles, rocks, that sort of thing. Definitely takes a little bit more planning, but I think once you did it enough, it seems like it should be fairly intuitive. And if you're only pedaling to accelerate and get to a sort of comfortable cruising speed in whatever terrain you're on, then you are able to put in some meaningful pressure on the pedals and some meaningful work, helping the bike conserve battery and making you feel like you're just riding a regular old pedal bike out here. You just don't have to put in quite as much effort. And I think I'm going to do that the rest of the way out, to be honest, because I think we're getting pretty close. We're going to be pretty close to running this thing completely dead. But yeah, I got to say that actually works incredibly well. You just got to know when to back off and coast, and then when to get back on it again. Oh, now we're coming up on Miss Ruffington's turf here. Let's make sure we don't run her over. Oh, there's a chipmunk. Surprised she's not mad about that. Maybe we're friends now. She realized I'm not a threat. Oh, there she is. Crap! Ah! Just when I thought I was safe. Yeah, boy, what a surprisingly fun and capable bike off-road. Of course, don't take that the wrong way. This is not meant for this. This is not super great for this. But boy, can it do it. Well, it seems like putting in my own effort has kind of helped. Definitely put on some miles since that dropped the last bar, and I haven't seen that drop yet. What are we at here? 15 miles? Oh, I didn't even realize this thing tells you the power input. Look at that. I was too busy looking at the road. So yeah, that'll give me a readout when I'm pedaling. Not that I should be looking at that. But yeah, the slower I pedal, the less pressure I put, the less power it puts on there. Well, I'm liking this torque sensor more and more the more that I ride this thing. Shifting up and down over here definitely seems to affect things, but the pedal assist levels really are pretty helpful as well. If you're sort of set on your gear in the back and you want to adjust how much pressure you have to put in or how much work you have to put in versus how fast you're going, just bumping those pedal assist levels up and down seems to really kind of make that super smooth and fairly intuitive, again, once you kind of have a feel for, you know, where you need to be depending on how fast you want to go and how much effort you want to put in. But all in all, man, I mean, this thing really is a lot of fun and super nice and comfy and intuitive to ride, both on pavement, on gravel, and really even on the single track, honestly. Suspension definitely impressed me. Front, I don't think I could even make bottom. Oh, I guess if I try really hard, I think that's the bottom, but it never bottomed off-road. The rear, man, it might be getting there if I really force it, but honestly, I mean, for the price of the bike and for what it is, I mean, I think it works great, at least for somebody my size and weight. Oh, what a beautiful day for a ride. And I'm honestly not sure that we're even going to be able to kill the battery before I get back here. Mostly, I think, because I've been pedaling it, it seems like that really does help conserve the power. And I think we're doing, yeah, really good. We're going to be at 20 miles, which the 17 amp hour battery that I tested not too long ago, I think I ran out before 19 miles, which that was a heavier bike, but still holding 20 miles an hour, no problem. Yeah, brakes just do not have enough power. Look out, little worm. It doesn't work half bad just taking off even in a higher gear. I think I'm probably on like 5 or 6 maybe. Oh, time to head back. Looks like we got a blinking battery bar. 20 miles. So really pretty darn good, I would say, for this small of a battery and all of the insane riding that we did. I really, really like this bike. I think the only thing that I would change on it, honestly, is I would say hydraulic brakes would make this thing just about perfect. Again, for what it is, it's not an hyper off-road e-bike. It's not, you know, the best e-bike you can buy, of course. I mean, these are all sort of budget e-bikes. That's why they're priced as they are. But really, for the price you pay for this thing, man, I would say you're getting a whole lot of bike. And obviously, you know, if you don't need the folding portion of it, I would say maybe something else would be a little bit better as far as ergonomics go. But if you're interested in a folding bike like this, man, this thing has some power. Boy, does that suspension make it super comfy. It was way more fun to ride this thing on the road, on the trails, than I could have ever possibly imagined. Honestly, I really like this bike. Again, not the best bike that I've ever tested, not the best bike out there, but if you're looking for something like this with the folding mechanism, with this size motor, in this price range, I don't think this is a bad option, and I think it'll be something that is enjoyable. I guess maybe the pedals would be worth switching out if you're going to be doing a lot of off-roading. So if you guys want to pick one of these up, I will have any affiliate codes and discount codes that I can offer you down in the more section below the video. If you purchase through those affiliate links down there, it will help me make more content like this, and I definitely appreciate that. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Stay swanky. Get out. Enjoy this beautiful world God created for us any chance you get.